Hello, I'm Jeremy, and man, this video just that I came across just upset me. It was like, this is just such nonsense that it's I'm gonna make a video about it. I'm going to expand on this because it's like people do not know what they're talking about for some damn reason, and I don't know if this guy's just too young, too inexperienced. I don't know. I'm going to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt here because I talk about I'm not here to change anybody's mind with stuff so much as I'm trying to show that people are lying, whether if it's intentional or unintentional. And this one I might give him a little bit of slack as being unintentional because he's not saying anything that I haven't already heard a million times before. And so I kind of had this little epiphany kind of thing, I guess you could say, and now uh, it's like I live in clown world because so much is backwards. It's wrong. It's just flat out utterly wrong. So here's an example of this. This video is called The Great Labor Shortage Crisis, and I tell you what, talk about buzzword. The great it's great. How? What are you comparing it to? It's like this is not the Great Depression after World War II, whenever you had the flood of soldiers that came back and they didn't have anything. Buzzword after buzzword after buzzword, and it's like, can you really? I don't mind it so much as that there's no kind of checks and balances, and this is something that you see all the time with the media where they give these inflammatory words. I just saw this actually this morning with another video where they were talking about Apple. I think it was Apple with dealing with how they were going to put spyware on your phones. Right. So no, there was two of them. There is the one with the Apple spyware stuff here, and if you want to learn a little bit about it, the title of the video is "The Erosion of Freedom and Privacy Occurred Because We Consent to It" from Louis Rossmann. And they're doing this neural match, and there's two of them that they're wanting to do. And Apple just wants to put basically spyware on your phone to look for adult behavior being done to young folks there. I hate being careful. I want to just say it, but I'm not looking right now to getting into fights with YouTube over this stuff. So it's the abuse of children. And he talks about how it's like, yeah, and where's that going to stop? It sounds really good, and it's going to end up being trash, just like the Patriot Act that Bush did with after 9/11. It's like that thing was damn garbage, and it was the same thing. Oh well, we're going to monitor all your phone calls and your emails and all this stuff. And guess what? It was used for all kinds of nefarious trash. Because the government does what government does. It abuses power. They don't care about what's right or wrong. They only care about getting their votes and getting elected next term. And then they say something whenever they're out there on the election trail. And then whenever they get into office, they just do whatever the hell it is that they want to do. And it's because they do this stuff. And so this is the one that I was thinking about is this video is called Disney Employees Busted in Police Sting. And this is from the Quartering. And so they found a bunch of people who worked at Disney, and they were going after children. And so here it is in Polk County, Florida. 17 people from across Central Florida have been charged, and it's called Operation Child Protector. You know what? A 6-day undercover investigation into child predators held by multiple agencies. You know what I think it should be from now on? I think instead of these big names, because they make it sound really good, and then they use them nefariously. It's not the case for all of them, but it's like too many times that's exactly what happens. It's just like with oh, we're going to lock down the economy to slow the spread. It's like, no, you're closing down small stores and you're creating super spreader event areas is what you're doing. And what do you mean that only essential jobs? It's like, talk about buzzwords. It's like all jobs are essential. You know why? Because it's essential to live. That you need money so you can have food, clothing, and shelter. Buzzwords. You know what it should be? This is Bill 1138. That's all it needs to be. Just give it a number. And so it's like, okay, well, this is, say they implemented that now. Okay, well, we're going to start with bill number one. And so the next bill, no matter what it is, it's going to be bill number two. And it's because how high can you count? It never ends. What's the highest number that there is? There isn't one because it just goes on to infinity. So that's the way all these bills should be. It's just named. And it's in part because I've also seen plenty of times too where the opposition is like, yeah, this might be the name of the bill, but have you read this stupid thing? Like the Green New Deal. It's like they had stuff dealing with farting cows and having a train a train that went all the way to Hawaii to the States. And then they had socialist programs in there, and that had nothing to do with the environment at all. I'm tired of the lies. I'm tired of these grandiose names where the name proclaims one thing, but then whatever's in it is something else. And so if you're tired of all the lies and the nonsense, this is what I'm dealing with. I'm going to take care of all this. I figured it out, and I actually have a plan on the things that I haven't figured out. I know what to do to actually get the rest of it. It's really neat. It's really fun. It's going to be a little bit of a fight because I can tell you what, it's going to take down. Like, subscribe. I've got Patreon and subscribe star, become a member. It really helps out the channel. And I'm tired of it. The lying has got to stop. There are too many people out there in the world because of the internet and the computers that we've got today that people can just post like crazy, and it's like, who are you? Why should I listen to you? I mean, that's something that happens with every single commercial out there. You know, you have these people who are talking to you, and it's like, who the hell are you? Well, why should I listen to you for anything? It's like, no, get out of town with this, you know? And that's what we see even with this. It's what I'm doing right now. Why should you listen to me? I'm nobody. Part of what I'm doing, though, is I'm trying to build up some trust and some confidence in the people who are watching by making the videos so that you have an opportunity to actually get to know me. And that's why I like people like Tim Pool and like Ross or Lewis Rossmann here, where they're people and they're talking. I do not like the big business setups. I do not like Fox News, CNN, Google, Facebook, YouTube. Oh man, it's just makes my skin crawl. But here, let's listen to how he's from Australia. It's called Economics Explained, and how he's got this stuff wrong.
Just over a year ago, in March of 2020, unemployment in the US spiked to 15%
It's like that's a big jump right there. Absolutely. And this happened with Biden whenever he came in, you know, because this is after January, you know, and so that because Trump is gone, you know, it's just like, yeah, it's Biden who did all this stuff, and it just gets worse. Anyways.
The fallout of the coronavirus forced many businesses to close, and
yep, because they shut down the economy to help keep the spread down. They were saying it was like 15 days to deal with the curve, and then it kept going on and on. I showed in a video yesterday in Australia where they were telling you not to even talk to people. It was Australia or New Zealand, you know. They had that accent, you know, however they do. And that lady was telling people not to talk to other people. I saw Ben Shapiro where he was talking about how in San Francisco they were going to start masking up again, and it had been 7 days and there wasn't even one single death in San Francisco, and they have a population of over 800,000 people there, and there hadn't even been one death. So I looked it up. I went to sanfrancisco.gov, and for July They had 7 deaths out of the whole month. I think maybe there was 14. I think that in the first 2 weeks there had been 7, and in the second 2 weeks there had been another 7. I know people who were in nursing, and they were literally told by their supervisors that you put down every single patient as a potential coronavirus infectee, and they were told that the reason why that they were doing it was because just by putting that down on the paper, that you were going to get federal money. And nurses, if you're willing to do nursing, they're getting paid ridiculous sums of money. Well, at least here in Texas, where the nurses, they can find nursing jobs. I know these people, and they're getting $6,000 a week. And part of it is because, yes, there are nurses who are scared. They don't want to do it, and so they just flat out quit. And so there's a high demand for all of this, and it's like, good night. Anyways.
Many more to take drastic cost-cutting measures to survive the turbulent times that lay ahead. Today, thanks in part to government stimulus and a new acceptance of the status quo in the workplace, this figure has fallen to 6.
Wrong. This guy is such a hypocrite. He even says later in this stupid video that whenever they do this, whenever they're looking at unemployment, that this does not count for people who do not have a job. This is one thing and one thing only. This is for the people who don't have a job, who are looking. So if you're just sitting at home and you're not looking, you're not a part of this. And so saying that this went down to because of the stimulus, it's like, no, it didn't. No, it didn't. How many of these people just stopped looking? Because they were like, there are no jobs. Where am I supposed to look? You closed down the economy. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to go look for a job when there are no jobs? Because you shut everything down. And he even says this later in the video. So he is lying. Whether it's intentional or unintentional, he is absolutely lying. And you know why? It's because we don't have a good source of information. Freedom of expression is not just people being to express themselves on a personal level. There's going to be a huge focus on a professional level and on facts and research and some kind of evidence instead of just people freely expressing themselves. That will absolutely be a part of it. But you got to have all of it. If you want it to be good, to be accurate, you have to have all of it. And that means the professional stuff on it. Because we have videos like this that are completely misleading and just flat out wrong. And it just drives me up the wall whenever it's like they say one thing and then later they contradict themselves. And he does it more than once.
6%, which is still far higher than the 3.5% was hovering around before the economy shut down, but
because it all depends on the content. It's like where are you getting these numbers from? What are they based off of? What's the rest of the information behind this? You are saying next to nothing.
It is obviously a massive improvement.
No, it's not, because you don't know what you have not described about what these terms mean. You're not talking about what metric they're using. No.
In fact, today, the USA is facing a completely different, somewhat paradoxical problem.
Yeah, a paradoxical problem is this stupid video that you've made. And he argues against having a non-surplus of employees. In other words, where they can't get people to work. And he talks about it as if that's a problem. Because he talks about that everything is just equal and the same, and it's not. It's all different. Oh, it's so stupid.
People are no longer struggling to find places to work.
Wrong. They are still out there like mad, trying to find jobs, and they can't because they're just not there. He just makes one stupid assumption after the next. I don't know who this guy is, but I tell you what, I was upset the first time that I watched it, but now that I'm paying closer attention because I understand the little game that he's playing here, I'm more upset.
Workplaces are struggling to find people. Reports are...
Don't care. I do not care. I do not care that these business owners are having a hard time finding workers. That is exactly what we want. Because there are by far, hands down, a hell of a lot more workers out there than there are businesses. And so that means that I want as much good for the greater amount of people as possible. So that's the workers.
The massive labour shortages have compelled some of the nation's largest employers to offer potential recruits $50 just to show up for a job interview.
That is not a bad thing. Oh, you get $50 just for showing up? How the hell are you spinning that off as a bad thing? You're out of your damn mind. Well, what the hell kind of clown world nonsense is this? You know, and look at who this is. Florida McDonald's. McDonald's can afford it. And you know what? I like fast food. It tastes good. McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell. I like all that stuff. But I hate national companies. It's like I would rather be a little local burger joint instead of some nationwide. You pay for this. You pay more than what you should.
Here in Australia, Uber is offering people a $500 bonus just to sign up as a driver and do 20 deliveries.
Great! Great! What the hell are you talking about? Again, there are more workers than employees. And if they can pay more, then great. You know what I don't need? I don't need McDonald's. I don't need Uber. You know who those things are for? Those are for decadent people, for people who are lazy and they have money. Because you know what? If you're really concerned, don't eat at McDonald's. You know what's much cheaper? Is if you cook and you make that stuff yourself at home. Do that. Spend time with your friends and family around the dinner table instead of in a crowded, ugly, disgusting, smelling fast food joint. What are you talking about? Uber, it's like, I don't need my stuff delivered. How about I get up off my big fat butt and I go do my own stuff? You know, these are not something that we need at all. It's like, if you've got the money for it, go ahead, knock yourself out. But man, no.
What's more is that those same companies are having to offer higher salaries and career progression opportunities beyond the minimum wage they have typically paid to entry-level employees.
Oh my goodness! Again, he talks about this, and one of the problems is that they're having to pay well beyond minimum wage. So you just said that we don't even have to have minimum wage whenever we have the right kind of competition. And the competition is not the competition with employees fighting and battling over it, but whenever the competition is from the employers. And I've said this before. This is the way that it works. These two do not go up and down together. It's more of a teeter-totter thing. It's a counterbalance that if one goes up, the other goes down. And so if you have like 1,000 workers or 100 workers and they're looking for a job, but there's only 10 job spots out there, then they're going to fight. They're going to say, I'll do the job for $30. Well, someone else is going to be like, I'll do it for $22. I really need the job. You know, I wasn't getting paid $30 before. 22 was where I was at. Someone else is going to come along and they're going to say, well, I'll do the job for $14. I need a job. I'm pretty desperate here. I haven't been working for a while. Someone else is going to come along and say, I will do it for minimum wage. Here in Texas right now, I believe the minimum wage is still $7.25. Because I need it. You know, up maybe it's, you know what? I'm a kid. I just graduated high school. I can do full time now because I'm not going to school. I'll do it for minimum wage. I'm fine with it. I'm still living at home. And then you get under that by illegal immigrants. And I've talked about this one before. So, for example, there was a meatpacking plant company that they had their employees. They were paying them $14 an hour, and they were not taking care of the plant. Accidents happened. They'd run out of sick leave. They'd lose their jobs. And then they were hiring people who had fake identification because they were Guatemalans, and their name would be something like John Smith. It's like, no, that is not an Hispanic name. You know, it should be like Juan or something like that, or Carlos or Jose. It's like, it's not John Smith. It's not that at all. Couldn't speak a word of English, couldn't even say their own name. And they were replacing the actual Hispanics who came from like Mexico, and they did it legally. And the person who wrote this article was actually the daughter of legal immigrants. And so these illegal ones, they were doing it less than minimum wage because what are they going to do? They cannot go to the police and say, I I'm not getting paid minimum wage as an illegal worker. They're going to get deported. It's the same thing that if you know somebody who's doing any kind of criminal activity, they cannot call the cops. If somebody is a drug dealer and you go and you rob them of their drugs or their drug money, they can't call the police and say, I just got robbed, somebody stole all my drugs, or somebody stole my drug money. They can't do it because then they're going to be arrested. And it happens. It's part of the reason why you have these gang wars, because they can just steal from each other because it's all illegal. And so they were putting on the books that they were paying the minimum wage, but they were actually just pocketing the money for themselves. But whenever you have the, and so that's what happens over here with the workers. But if it's the opposite, and there's like all of these, say there's 100 jobs out there that are being offered to everyone, but there's only like 10 people, now it's the opposite. It's like, I can only afford minimum wage. Well, you know what? We're doing really good. We've got good customer service. Word of mouth is going around. We need more people. We've got more money. I'll pay you $14 an hour. Oh, that sounds good. You know, someone else is like, hey, we're even larger. We're across the entire city. You know, we've already expanded across the city, and so we're doing really good, and we're looking to open up into other cities. And so we can give you like $21 an hour plus a full benefits package of medical, vision, dental, you know, paid sick leave, you know, the whole thing. Man, I'll pay you $30 an hour because I tell you what, we're going into other states. You know, it's like we can pay. And that's exactly what the hell is going on right now. They're giving you money just to show up. It's like, that's what I want. Oh, you're making so much cash with your business that you can do this? It's like, yeah. Why are you getting away with that? Because you're manipulating the economy and politics to favor big business. Screw you, you lying piece of trash.
So, this sounds like a good thing.
Duh, obviously.
Employment falling, wages rising, conditions improving. What's not to like? Unless maybe you're a fast food franchise owner.
So what? I do not care about McDonald's and this big, huge, mega billion-dollar corporation at all. What the hell are you talking about? What the hell is wrong with you? Do you not understand simple math? Do you not understand that there's just a handful of people at the top who are making loads of cash, and then a whole buttload of people at the bottom who are busting their butts off trying to make it? What the hell is wrong with you?
However, these seemingly positive headlines have actually got a few economists pretty worried.
Who? Who are these lying sacks of trash? I want to know exactly who they are. I've seen this. I've seen on more than one occasion where Thomas Sowell has argued with another economist, and they say this because they're still just people. And these economists who oppose him, they just say, oh, well, I don't think it's so good. And he will say, what's your evidence? Where's your proof? They never have any of it. That's why Thomas Sowell is someone that I listen to, because he writes books on books on books about this stuff. He's done a lot of books because he does his research, and he's like, yeah, this all sounds really good, and sounds like it'd be a really good intentional thing, and then that's not what happens.
To understand why, we need to as always look at a few things in detail and properly
look at things in detail? Now you want to look things in detail? It's like you haven't been doing it up to this point. I'm going to be surprised if you do it for the rest of the video or not. I guess he does a little bit, because he does go into definitions with some things, and actually the definitions are a counter to what he's talking about here. Because it's like, I don't know if this guy's just an idiot or if he's just, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with this guy. I know how to fix it, though. I know exactly what to do.
Understand what this could all mean to the recovery of the American economy as a whole.
So if you're wondering why an Australian cares about the American economy, it's because everyone cares about the American economy, because so much is just kind of based off of it. It's like, well, yeah, whenever there's that much wealth, I mean, of course, everyone kind of tunes in. It's the same reason why the entire world, or at least a huge portion of the world, cares about the next president, because that sets off policies which affects the rest of the world.
So, why are economists concerned about people having their choice of jobs with better pay and conditions? what could this situation do to the wider economy, and what is the best way to take advantage of this apparent surge in demand for new employees? This episode of Economics Explained is brought to you by Skillshare. Tutorials, free trial, one of the central goals of the Federal Reserve Bank. But the actual phrase itself, it's even one of the politicians, economists, and it's even one of the central goals of the Federal Reserve Bank.
And it's so stupid. You cannot do that. You cannot have full employment in any stretch of the imagination, no matter what the terms are. It is literally impossible. And there is a huge, well-grounded argument as to why the Federal Reserve is nuts. It's just the claim that you can control something as massive and as complex as the economy is wrong. Instead, what it is it's the Federal Reserve, the government, coming in and saying, here's a sector of the economy we want control of, that we will manipulate so we can make our friends rich, so we can get more campaign money, or so that we can create shell companies such as charitable organizations to line our pockets.
But the actual phrase itself, full employment, is a bit misleading.
You think? You know what? Why didn't you start off with this before everything else that you've talked about? So then that way people could at least have some idea of what the hell it is that you're talking about. Because you started off with that misleading graph right there.
You would be forgiven for thinking that this means...
Yeah, everyone else who's watching it, but should you? Because you're just flat out lying.
Zero unemployment, but it doesn't. For starters, that's never actually been achieved because in an economy as large as the US...
That's right. That's never been achieved not only in the US but in any other place on the entire planet. And then he's now going to talk about how unemployment does not mean people who don't have jobs. That it means people who don't have jobs and are actively learning.
Yes, there is always going to be someone out of work. So, what does it actually mean? Well, economists kind of disagree on this.
And that's so wrong. There's no reason why the definition for this should not be 100% accurate and clear. It should not... How long have we had the economy around? So why is there even a discussion with this? You know what probably needs to happen is that they're trying to fit two definitions into one word instead of dividing it up into two different words with two different definitions. But no, we're not going to solve the problem. We're just going to dance around it. And part of the problem is because we don't have one place that has good, accurate, up-to-date information that's reliable, trustworthy, honest. And I know what to do with it. And it's a lot of the stuff isn't that I want to do. It's not new stuff, but it's like it's all this stuff, and I'm gonna bring it together because it's like, oh, this is good, and this is good, and this is good, and it's like put it all together, and you're going to have this really fantastic picture of stuff. You know, I'm not trying to proclaim that I'm some kind of mega genius. I just see things differently now because of my epiphany that I've had.
They all agree it is a low rate of unemployment, but it will never be zero. The first approximation of this is based on what is called the natural rate of unemployment. What this means is that the only people who are willing and able to work but are not currently working are either temporarily between jobs, like let's say an executive taking a week off before starting a new role at a new company, or are training up to work in a different role, like let's say a blacksmith learning to write code.
So they're all different. There's many different definitions for unemployment, and what they're using for these charts are all different. So if they're not all the same, then you can look at one chart and look at another, and they're comparing two different things because they can't even come to terms with what it should mean. And it's like, why not? It's 2021. You know, whenever I was born back in the 70s, guess what? There was an economy back then too. I mean, the Federal Reserve has been around longer than my parents have been alive. That came along during whenever my grandparents were still alive. That's how old it is. And they can't do something as simple as say, well, here's a vocabulary word because here's something that we need to address, and here's a definition behind it. They can't even settle on that? What are you talking about? I mean, vocabulary words are something that, at least where I'm from, we dealt with a lot in elementary school. So you're telling me that you can't even do what they handle in elementary level? What? Get out of here.
So that they can go and work at Google. Yeah, okay, extreme example, but you get the point. This is known as frictional and structural unemployment, respectively. These are normally seen as the good type of unemployment, or at least the type of unemployment that isn't terrible like the alternatives. Cyclical unemployment is the one that we're normally afraid of. This is unemployment caused by changes in the business cycle. If an economy goes into a...
So, this kind of employment, this is the employment that they make, the majority make graphs and charts about and that they're talking about.
Recession, there is naturally less demand, which means fewer employees are needed to meet that lower level of demand. People are laid off and lose their income, so they can't afford to purchase as much, which in turn reduces demand. And the cruel...
This is so wrong. It's like... I will give you a real world example. So whenever we had the financial collapse of 2008, because of all of these Obama policies demanding banks lower their terms for allowing for home ownership, it allowed these people who couldn't manage their money in the first place to go out and buy homes, and because they didn't know how to manage their money, they lost their places because they were doing AAA subprime mortgage loans to everyone, and that's supposed to be like the gold standard, and then they ended up not being that. And so it all collapsed and it all came in. And then they did this. They did the big bailout of the big banks because they were about to go out of business. They bailed them out because we have to save all these jobs out there. It's like, no, you don't. That is exactly what's not going to happen. Clown world, clown lunatic, liar politicians, because you don't care about the truth. You don't look into this. You don't know what you're talking about. So I was actually going back to school after this had happened because my mom's cancer, I mean, she'd been dead. It's all been taken care of. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to do a little bit more. And we had to write a paper about this. This is what we chose to go over in my business law class. Whenever we got done with our presentation, I was just like, ask me questions. And we got to talking about how the only people who got bailed out were the rich people at the top of these huge bank companies, Wells Fargo, Citi or whatever. I forgot the name of the banks. But it's only the people who were at the top. They're the only ones who are getting the bailout. Because it had absolutely nothing to do with the customers. Whatever the reasons that these customers had for going to the banks, those reasons were still there. I need a loan for the house, for a car, student loan, to start up a new business. I just have so much money, I have excess money that I don't feel safe having it at home, so I want to have a bank account. I don't want to deal with going off and having to deal with paying all of my utilities. I just want an automatic withdrawal. My business that I work for, my company or whatever, also they like an automatic deposit, and so I just know that it automatically, all these things are just automatically happening, and all I have to do is look at one piece of paper or on my computer and I can just see it all like that. And I don't have to do any running around of any kind. I don't have to worry about fiddling with envelopes and stamps and all that kind of stuff. It's just automatic, and then save some planets or save some trees, go hug a tree, whatever, go knock yourself out. It's like, congratulations, you saved the world, whatever. But their reasons for doing banking are still there. So if Wells Fargo, for example, goes out of business, so what? That means that all their customers are just going to go to other banks. And because now that they have an increase of service, now they have to hire more people. Oh man, we've got all these people because Wells Fargo shut down in all their branches and they fired all their tellers, but now we could use a teller or two. And this other bank over here too, they could use another teller or two. Where are we going to find them? Oh, these people who worked at Wells Fargo. They're the ones looking for a job. They closed several of their branches down in Atlanta or whatever place. We actually need to open one because we're doing really well. So we need to hire bank managers. Who's not going to get a job, though? The people who are running Wells Fargo, or whichever bank it was. They're the ones who are out of the job. They're the ones who aren't going to be able to get a new job. Oh, who are you, sir? Oh, I was the former president or vice president or whatever. I was head of marketing or whatever at Wells Fargo. Oh, you mean the bank that failed? And you were the leadership making the decisions? Yeah, we don't need you. Your policies and your things that you enacted caused your place to fail. We don't need you. Bye. That's the only thing that it did. Same thing with this. I do not care about places closing. I want them to close. You know why? Because I want innovation. And if you don't want to change, and if you don't want to keep up, then yeah, go jump off a cliff. I'm going to talk about this because they have conventions for everything. Just like they have comic book conventions and for Marvel and DC and all this, they have conventions for roofing, for plumbing, for electrical, and they for everything imaginable, for tool. And it's all about all of these new products and all these new materials and everything that they're trying to get out there into the market and that they're better. And it's like, if you don't want to go to these things, and if you don't want to even watch videos and learn about the new products, and you fail, I don't care. And you know what happens with big businesses is that they have an extremely hard time keeping up with change because they have all these policies and procedures that lock them in place that hurts them because they can't change. And this is something that actually Elon Musk does opposite. One of his things that he has in his company is that you don't have to ask anybody for permission to go get an answer for anything. You don't have to talk to your supervisor. You go do whatever it takes to go find out the answer from the person who has the answer. And it's why his company is just innovating like crazy with Tesla, and they do some incredible, insane things. And they do it incredibly quick. It's because he tries very hard not to keep them stagnant. It's like, go get the answer. Whatever it is that you need to do. Go talk to whoever you need to. Doesn't matter who it is. Go get the answer.
The cycle of cyclical unemployment continues. I must quickly add before anyone corrects me in the comment section that cyclical unemployment is so called because it is caused by the short-term business cycle, not because it compounds on itself like demonstrated here. That's just a nice little piece of irony that I like to point out. Anyway, this is why, to try and avoid this, the central bank is tasked with, among other things, maintaining full employment. But that role can sometimes be at odds with...
Again, this fantasy utopia nonsense of that we're going to achieve this perfection where everybody's going to have it. It's like, no, it's not ever. I do not care. That is an unrealistic goal. It's fantasy, fairy tale, rainbow jumping unicorns farting glitter out of their butt. It's not real. Make things better. Does it make things better? That's realistic. We've been doing that forever. It's why we don't live in caves anymore. Does it make things better? Not perfect. Man, if we were waiting for something perfect, it's like we'd still be in caves.
Another responsibility of the Fed, which is maintaining low inflation. There is
low inflation. So use the right term. Deflation. Why do we never say deflation? We know what to do. It's the opposite of inflation, but we never talk about it. You know why? Because the government's not interested in actually doing it. Because if we were interested in deflation, we would get rid of minimum wage. And we would make these businesses compete as hard as they should. Because right now it's just so easy because it's like, oh, well, it's just automatically set. And it's all in favor of big businesses.
Here's another idea of what full employment is, and it has to do with a term that you may have heard thrown around in the news recently, the NAIRU, which is just an acronym for the Non-Accelerating Inflation Rate of Unemployment. This is the reason that economists don't want zero unemployment.
I do not care if you are throwing around blanketed terms. Economists? Which economists? What, 2? Did you find 2? Yeah, I bet you can find 2 who agree with this stuff. Who are they, and what's their information to back it up? I get so tired of this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and skip to this one little part right here, because how long have I been going on with this? 40 minutes, man. Oh my, it's like I can do this in like 10 minutes. I'm just gonna sum some of this stuff up, and it's like no, an hour later. Where's the trucks? There we go. Here we go.
To pay a plumber $30 an hour to get sold in the burger market that they have now cornered. Of course, eventually, the salary expenses of these businesses would just make it infeasible for them to keep on running.
I don't care. I do not care. Let the businesses go out. I don't care. I do not need 50 Starbucks. Oh, here, let me show you exactly what I mean. Look at this stupid crap. Look at this stupid crap. Here's a 16-second video. And he's just probably using his phone or her or whoever. Here's a Starbucks. And he's just going to pan around across the street to another damn Starbucks. There's another one right there. It's not the one. It's not the only one. You know why I knew to look that up? Because it's common enough that it came to my attention. And it was common enough that people, it's like, I do not need another stupid damn Starbucks. I do not care at all. I saw it with Ben Shapiro where he was talking to somebody from California, and they were talking about minimum wage or unemployment, something along the same lines. And then the politician was like, well, research has shown that it increases productivity within businesses. Are we helping businesses or are we helping the workers? Which one is it? Because those are two different things. And minimum wage is supposed to be helping the people be able to earn a livable wage or whatever. And it's like, well, then get rid of minimum wage because that's not what it does at all.
Which means they will close down, which...
Oh my goodness, they're going to close down? The problem with all of these big businesses is that you have Starbucks, and then you have another Starbucks across the street, and then you have another Starbucks down there. And all of them have to pay money to the corporate overlords. That somewhere, Starbucks has a headquarters. And that's where the CEO and the president and the vice president and all these people who are head of marketing and finance and all this stuff, this is where they work. And they're these people who make hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. And why do they do that? Because they take a little bit from each one. An example of this is that whenever I was in the Army, they found somebody who was up there in accounting really high, who was taking like 50 cents from every single paycheck out there. It's like, it wasn't a lot, it was something low like that. But because there was hundreds of thousands of soldiers, people who were in the military, that had added up really quick, and they were getting like $30,000 a month from each pay cycle because of all the people, and it was just a little amount. It was. I don't even think it was $1. It's like, who's going to notice that? And that's how these people make money, because they have all of these chains all over the place, and they don't take a lot, but they do take some. They take more than just that, because they don't have. They were. It's legal to do it. What was going on with the military, that was illegal. He was stealing, or she or whoever was stealing from everybody's paycheck. This isn't theft. They say, well, in order to have our Starbucks name, you got to pay us royalties, and the royalties are a lot. But whenever you have a little small little coffee joint, they don't have to pay all that stuff, and so you can get good, even better service, because it's like, yeah, we're making a lot of money. Yeah, we're not millionaires, but we're no broke chumps either. That's why whenever you go to foreign countries, like to Paris or Amsterdam or wherever, like European countries are really good, you see coffee joints all over the place. You know why? Because they don't have Starbucks. You know why? Because the big companies cannot compete. Because these small little places, they don't have to have this extra money to go to some corporate overlord. And it's not just that, because it's like wherever this place is, you know, if it's in like Los Angeles or New York or whatever, they also have regional managers, and You have the frontline supervisor with the workers, and then you have the store manager, regional manager, and it keeps getting larger until you have somebody who's, you don't have to pay all those people anymore. It's just the supervisor at the store and whoever's running, and then that's it. Whenever it's a little mom and pop place, and so all this extra money that would have gone to these overlords who are doing all this kind of stuff, it just stays in their pocket, and they don't need it as much. It's like, no, I'm living really great. I've got a great house. I've got a great car. Yeah, it's not millions, but it's like $400,000 is still great. And so no, dude, I hate this. I hate this. What are you talking about? Are you talking about protecting the workers and all the employees, or are you talking about saving big business so we can have this 1% class who just trash over everyone else?
Introduces a supply of tasty burgers in circulation.
He's talking about it like fast food places are the only place that can produce tasty burgers. Are you kidding me? Have you ever been to a place that wasn't fast food and they made burgers? You know what? Those are usually the best burgers. Now, they can be trash too, but there are plenty of them where it's like, this burger's freaking amazing. Where is this magical book that's fallen from the heavens saying that McDonald's is the best, it's the end-all be-all? Get out of here. Get the hell out of my face.
Which means that the burger places that are left in operation will get to charge a premium for their products being sold in the burger market that they have now cornered. Of course, this is an extreme example, but even...
No, it is a lie.
Gradual increases in income can lead to gradual increases in the price level of goods and services.
No, you are talking about things like minimum wage and taxes. Because whenever you increase minimum wage, if you go from like $7.25 or $7.50 an hour, I think that's minimum wage is $7.50 here, and you double it, and you're like, well, we're going to pay $15 an hour, then you've doubled everything. And so it's like, okay, well, this register here that there are minimum wage workers who work that, so you just double it for this little credit card machine, for this. People had to make the countertop, the bags that you put the meals into, the also the little containers where the actual burger goes into, and then the bag that it goes into. There's minimum wage workers at all this place who made the monitor, who made the tiles, surveillance, the cord, the electricians who set all of this stuff, the stainless steel appliances, the cleaning supplies, the mask, the goggles, the uniforms. It's every single thing that you say. It's in their professional life, in your personal life. It's all of it. It just all went up. It all doubled up. You know why? Because if this is a minimum wage worker right here, and they're getting paid $7.50 an hour, and then it doubles to $15 an hour, and this is the supervisor right here, and they were making double. They were making $15 an hour. The supervisor's not going to be happy. Oh, you're making $15 an hour? And you're just a little supervisor, and I'm not getting paid double anymore? No, you're going to double me too. You're going to give me $30 an hour. I was doing double before, and I'm going to do double now. And same thing with all these other places out here. Is that their minimum wage workers? Oh, they got their wages doubled, and so now wherever they make the towels, wherever they make the napkins and the ketchup and everything else, it all went up. It all went up.
This is an extreme example. But even gradual increases in income can lead to gradual increases in the price level of goods.
And part of the problem is that he's acting like every single business out there is the same. It's like, no, there's a big difference between the big corporate businesses and the little mom and pop businesses.
And services. If a company needs to pay a plumber $30 an hour to get them to show up to work, they're going to be passing that cost along to you. And on the other side of that equation...
No! Because you are saying that all of these businesses are the same. It's like, yes, the big corporate businesses are going to have to do this. But the little mom and pop place, where it's just a family-owned thing, they don't have to do that. They don't have to do that at all. Well, it's just this generalization. Well, all businesses are the same. It's just the same damn thing as, well, men and women are, there's a pay gap. It's like, not all men are equal. Not all women are equal. Not all businesses are equal. What the hell are you talking about? It's just one damn lie after another with this stupid video.
If that plumber is looking for a brand new truck to celebrate his pay rise, he's going to be competing against every other plumber.
Again, just like there's no pay gap between men and women because not all men are the same, not all women are the same. It's the same thing with employers, whether they're plumbers or somebody else. Because, you know what, this employer right here, employee, might be with some big business and they do the big race. This employee right here might be with some kind of mid company and they're not keeping on top of all this stuff. Let me show you. And so here we have, just did a quick little search. What this is, 2020, is an annual conference put on by the Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors Association, better known as PHCC. The event will be in Dallas. It was held in Indianapolis last year. And here it is. It's just like a comic book convention, except it's plumbing parts, plumbing tools, it's pipes, it's fixtures, it's all these things. And this is it right here. It's just all these booths, and it's for nothing but plumbing. They have this for everything. And they have conferences and speeches to let you know about all the things. So here's some kind of plumbing thing that they've made real large. You see smaller stuff here, and they made a really large one to really help show it off, I guess, there. They do this with everything all the time. You know, drain, care, and repair. Metro Rod. It's like, here's what we're offering. It's like this with everything today. You know why? Because there's a lot of people. This is whenever Jordan Peterson talks about that, whenever he was on the UN Council and they were talking about helping the environment, that it was none of these policies that the government was talking about. They were talking about nutrition for children, that it was a good thing to raise the human IQ level, because then you have stuff like this. So imagine if you had all of this great, wonderful innovation from everybody everywhere, instead of keeping people back. It's like, that's what I want. What are you talking about? And so with these, you know, maybe this one's from a mid-level company and they're not doing this. They're not going to the conventions. They're not keeping up. He's going to lose his job. And he even says this. He talks about how that if there's no more plumbers to hire, or maybe he was talking about something, but we'll stick with plumbers. If there's no more plumbers to hire, then they're going to have to scalp from other plumbing companies. And it's like, that's exactly what's going to happen. Because this plumbing company might be doing really well. It's like, no, we're staying on top of it. We're having to work really hard. We're not being complacent because we don't have protections from the government. We don't have all this red tape. It's just a free market. And so we're getting really good at our job. We've got really good materials because we're going to these conventions and we're keeping up with it. And so we're using state-of-the-art equipment, materials, procedures, and everything. So we go in really fast and quick, and we're using really good products, because if you have to go back and you have to redo it, they don't get paid for that. There's these things called lemon laws, and so they have to go back and they have to fix it. So they don't want to do it because they're losing money. So they might charge a little bit more to have better stuff. Oh my goodness, this is so long. I have a personal story that I can share about this with a plumbing experience that happened just about a month ago. I had to call up like 5 plumbers. One plumber didn't know what they were doing because they mainly handle commercial stuff, and they were dealing with like restaurants with grease and stuff, but they were under contract. And so they had to leave a lot. They didn't know what was going on with residential stuff so much. But if you ever have a plumbing issue, you should start with the small mom and pop stuff, because they're usually extremely knowledgeable. And if it's everyday stuff, they're going to be able to get in, get out, and you're not going to be charged a lot. And again, it's because they don't have that overlord stuff going on over them that they have to pay to all the time. But if it's a bigger problem, one of the advantages, though, is that if you do get to a larger company, they have more people to draw on for their expertise to be able to figure something like that out. And so I think still, you don't need to go to the big places, the middle kind of tier, where it's like, yeah, we're not just working out of our home, but we actually have a dedicated building, and we have a lot where we store all of our vehicles. We've got 15 to 20 people who work here for us. And so if we have a problem, we've got plenty of people to call on, but we don't have the overlords that we're paying to because we're just here in the city. It's like, that's great. That's really good. So it depends on what the hell's going on. And so if they can't hire somebody, then what's going to happen is that well, we're doing really big, we're doing really well, you're not. And if they say, well, we do want to hire, and they try to offer this guy a job, he's going to say no because I'm getting paid more over here. But if it's in reverse, then this company's going to be like, hey, we'll take you, we're paying more, and we're offering more benefits, and then they lose out. Then this company right here is going to go out of business because they can't afford to do it. It's like, I don't care if companies go out of business. I don't care. As you know, the companies that are going to stay are going to be the companies that do the best job. You know where you find the best plumbers? Through word of mouth. 100%. Because the best plumbers, they don't have to put in any advertisements anywhere because their work is good. And everybody says it. And it's even hard to find these people. So with plumbers, electricians, technicians, carpenters, whatever, the best ones, nobody will give word of mouth on them because it's like, no, they're good. And I don't want anyone else to take them up. They're already really busy and really swamped, and whenever I come calling, I don't want to have to wait a week for them to come. They don't have to do any advertising at all. And it's incredibly hard to find them. But whenever you do, you definitely want to take down their name, their number. They're not even going to have a card. You're going to want to write it down, and it's like, yeah, man, the job was great. I see why everybody likes you. Anyways, they're going to go out of business because it's fierce competition for the companies, and that's what I want. I don't want it to be easy for them. It's like, you want to make a lot of money, you want to make good money, you want to open up your own business, fine, but it's not supposed to be easy for you. It's like, why should you just sit back and collect a lot of money for nothing? And that's what these really large companies do. I do not care. And that's all I ever hear with this stuff. I've got a degree in economics, and it's one of the things that I noticed. It was just this constant fight for big business. It's like, I do not care. You make things worse. Especially, small to medium, it's like they're good. But whenever you get past the medium, you really have to start asking, is this doing more harm than good? And 9 times out of 10, it's a definite hell yes, this is trash. And the reason why they get to do it a lot of the times is because big government is protecting them. I do not like big government. I do not like big business. They can all go jump off a cliff. I am now at almost a freaking hour. So I'm tired of the lies. I tell you what, I had this epiphany, and this is just a great example of how everything just looks like clown world. Everything is backwards. I'm tired of the lies. I'm tired of this manipulation. And so if you are too, and you're tired of these high prices and just being screwed over left, right, and center, then give this video a like, give it a thumbs up, subscribe and become a member. I also have Patreon and Subscribe Star. Thanks a lot for watching. We will see you again later. Bye.